Welcome back, guys, to the Beyond Condition podcast, the voice of bodybuilding. And today's voice is a returning guest, but a very good friend, spanning across years of competing alongside each other, Tim. So, welcome back to the podcast.
Hello. How are we? All good?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. How are you today on this wintry day?
Oh, it's beautiful weather, isn't it, here in England? No, it's yeah, I'm doing good, really well. So yes, positive, very good. 3 weeks out from show, I'm feeling good.
It's,
Surprisingly.
I feel like as well, like the different seasons, time of year when you're prepping and you've done it multiple times. I feel like sometimes in the like wintry when it's raining and stuff, I get this like I don't know, quite cathartic when you're out getting steps and you're going to the gym and it's a bit darker, sort of like this. Oh, this is quite cool, you know?
It feels more old school. I don't know why. It's just cold, it's like grimy.
Yeah.
It's just one of those feelings you're like, yeah, I'm working hard. I don't know, it just feels like you're working harder when it's horrible weather.
For sure, for sure. Have you ever done later shows where it's pissed it down when you've gone to get your tan?
Yeah, I've taken a brolly with me. Always a brolly. I look like little Mary Poppins outside.
I love it as well because when you're a first timer or you haven't experienced that before, you think that literally, I was having this conversation yesterday, you get like a little stain on your tan or something, you're like, I fucked it. Oh my God, what am I gonna do? Then they're like, it's okay, we can fix it. And you're like, oh my God.
You panic, don't you? You think it's all over. It's like, I'm never going to place. I can't get it fixed. And then it's like, oh no, they fixed me backstage. It's absolutely fine. There's no stress. Yeah, it's all
So,
good.
so talk to me about this year. So you've already stepped on stage this year, earlier in the year. Let's talk a bit about this season or this year as such for 2024 for you. So what happened earlier in the year when you competed? Obviously, I was there, but let's have your side of the story.
Well, as I was in good shape from when I last competed in November last year. I
Mm.
stayed quite lean with it as such. I didn't get fat. So I just wanted some stage time really. The PCA Universe was coming up and I thought, oh, I've never done the Universe before. I'd obviously just become pro back in October.
Mm.
So the Universe was announced and I was like, well, I'm in pretty good shape. So, I can peak for this. I can just run it and just see what happens. Coach myself into it as I had done for the last year. And I just came flat. And because I didn't have that guidance, I knew what I was doing, but it'd been a few months since I last been on stage. So what seemed to have worked before didn't work. Then maybe I wasn't as lean as I was.
Mhm.
So that was a lesson learned. So straight away after the Universe, I called Nick Edgerton and I was like, look, mate, you got to coach me again.
Please.
Yeah. It's because me and Nick worked together 3 years ago, and I did really, really well. I won two bros overalls, PCA shows, did the Arnold's UK 2021, did the Amateur Olympia 2021, came fourth and fifth respectively. So I did really well. So yeah, Nick was sort of my go-to guy. I thought, yeah, okay, I'm in a position to be coach now. So let's pick it up, let's run it and see what we can do at the end of this year. So yeah, now 3 weeks out. I'm probably going to hit a FitX show just to get a bit of warm-up time before the PCA Pro shows. Just because I want that stage time, I want to sort of see, I want to dust the cobwebs off, so to speak. Just get that buzz back in, just so I'm not stepping on the stage for the first time in months. Back on the UK? It's the British PCA British Championships, isn't it? Yeah. So I'll be doing the pro show there on October the 26th, I believe, or something. And then the week before that, I think it's the FitX show. But yeah, it's no, I think it's October the 19th, the British. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
think
it's 19th, isn't it? Yeah. And then I've got a run of more shows. So God, I've got 5 shows lined up.
Have you?
Yeah, yeah. Because basically when I prep, I don't prep to just do one show. I want to do as many as possible because I'm in that shape. I've got the mentality to keep it. I don't struggle with keeping, lean and stage ready. So I've always gotten better week after week, peak after peak. I just get better and better and better, drier, harder. just look better. So I thought, yeah, let's set up a few shows. So I've got FitX first on the 13th. Then I've got the PCA British Championships, the pro show, on the 19th. Then the week after that, it's the PCA German Championships in Germany.
Yes.
So I'll do the pro show there. Then if I qualify for the FitX British Finals, I'll do that just for the experience, because I've never done FitX before. So it'll just be a bit, just something different to do. So what's that, the 2nd or something, 2nd of November?
Mm-hmm.
And then we've got, towards the end of November, it's the PCA World Finals in Amsterdam. So I'll do the pro show there. So yeah, quite a few shows lined up. Honestly, I can't wait. I've been super focused on it for the last 15, 16 weeks now, prepping. So I am just in the mindset now, just get me on that stage. I'm buzzing for it. I can't wait.
Yeah, for sure. It gets to that point, doesn't it, where you're like, you can actually look, if you're ready, not too early, but if you're, in that position sort of at this time where you're like, with a bit of a peak or with another week of depletion, or when you're close to what you want to look like, you're like, oh, I need to keep this look. And it's sort of like that. And when the mindset's there, you almost want to just jump on stage, because if you can, like I say, get ready a bit early, it's a good vibe, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. There's no stress there. I don't stress going into shows anyway. I wasn't looking the best back in April, I think, for the PCA Universe. I wasn't the best I looked. I was shredded, yeah, but I was flat. I came in flat and a bit watery. And I didn't have any plan to do a run of shows then. I thought I'll just do this one show, deplete, and then, as you know, when you come back out of show and you start eating carbs again, your insulin's super sensitive, so you just blow up like a balloon. You just hold all that weight. So I thought I'd take advantage of that, just reset my insulin a bit and just go again. And it seems to have worked, because I've put on, I think by the time I get on stage, I would have put on about 2 kg muscle tissue since April. So that's quite a bit, in that amount of months. So I think I made the right decision there. Yes, I didn't look my best for the PCA Universe, but it was a lesson learned, and it made me get Nick as my coach again. So all in all, I have absolutely zero regrets doing that, and I'm just going to look better than I did then. So the judge is going to look at me and be like, yeah, actually, he's improved. He looks much better. So fair play to regardless of where I placed, regardless of what happens, as long as I look better, the drill. As long as you look better, that's all that matters.
For sure. Like, I really do feel like, and I talk about it a lot, I really do feel like there's just something so special about that feeling to actually, and we've both had it, where you look in the mirror and you think, I look so much better than last season, or so much better than the last time I stepped on stage, whether there's, a short space of time in between, like yourself right now, or however that setup is. And those feelings where you're like, I just feel so fucking happy with how my physique is. And it just brings something so different, doesn't it? It's like this, like, I don't know, new level of fulfillment, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's super fulfilling. It's just when you get on stage and you look the best you can, there is no better feeling than that, because you've worked your ass off to get there, and it's all coming together, and it's just like, right, I don't care where I place, I am looking on point. Because at the end of the day, there's going to be competitors there that potentially look better than you. You can't help that, As long as you've worked your best, as long as you've done everything you can stand on stage proud and be happy with where you've come. It's just like, if you've improved, if you put muscle tissue on since last time, that is the whole point of bodybuilding. That is it, leveling up.
Yeah, and leveling up, of course, it's so multifaceted, like you said. So gaining muscle is, one of the bigger things. And then it's like, have you polished up your posing a little bit more? Is there a bit more flair there? Is there a bit more stage performance there? Do you feel happier in your physique, and does that present differently? And, is the show day experience a bit more smoother than last time? Like, there's all these little things that I think over the years, you just start to really see so much value in maybe like the smaller things that then become this big effect on your show day to actually bring your best physique, because you're almost at peace with yourself as well, aren't you?
Do you know the biggest stress I have on show day? Remembering everything to bring. By that point, my physique is ready.
Yeah.
I've got nothing to do. I just got to make sure I eat my food. You know,
Mm,
I rest. So, you know, water comes off, whatever.
mm.
It's just making sure I've brought everything with me. Have I got my sliders? Have I got my, you know, lucky sock?
Have you got the song?
Never forget the lucky sock. I mean, that applies more to males than females, but yeah, you know.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's just silly things like that. And it's when you got everything, you get to the venue, you got everything set up, you can just chill and relax. And it's no better feeling because you know you just got to get on stage, do your poses, you know, give a little bit of pizzazz, as I like to say, you know, give it a bit of flair on stage, and hope the judges like you. And if you place, amazing. What a feeling.
it is. It's like, this subjectivity in bodybuilding. There's so many different ways to look at it. And I think that, of course, there are elements of, if you don't get a place in, it could be that, your coach is annoyed even, or you're annoyed, or maybe your family members get involved, and all of these things that, actually, if we can surround ourselves with a coach that's going to be objective and give you feedback to actually progress as an athlete, if your family can be a bit informed as to maybe what to say when you come off stage, because it's like, you should have won, and it's like, look, mum, and if you can actually be objective with yourself, what could I have perhaps done better? If you can get someone to video it, or you pay for the footage, and actually as an athlete, to move forward, it's like you say with the show earlier in the year, I was flat, and actually going, look, I've done nothing wrong here. I've learnt. I still experience the day. This is what I need to do. I need to get a coach, etc., etc. And that in itself, if you want to do this for a long period of time, that's very fulfilling as well, to actually be able to go, that's what I could have done better, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, 100%. It's like when you fail to place or whatever, it's always a lesson. There's always a lesson there. It's like, right, unless you came in absolutely perfect, then there's obviously, you know, it's just because someone's beat you because they're better. But if you haven't come in perfect, there's a lesson there. Right, why am I flat? Why am I watery?
Mhm.
You know, why, I don't know, was my posing off? There's always something to learn, you know. And it's funny because you say about, you know, coming off stage and people not knowing what to say to you, like, oh, you should have won. It's like I had that back in 2021 at the PCA British Finals. I came second to Adam, and he looked phenomenal. But we were completely different physiques. You know, he was smaller than me,
Mhm.
um, by only by a couple of inches or so. But he had his midsection was a lot tighter, a lot smaller,
Mhm.
as opposed to me. So I've got a little bit of a bigger midsection, and his posing was probably a little bit better. And that's why they chose him as the winner, you know. But everyone was saying to me when I came off stage, they were like, I can't understand why you didn't win. And it's like, well, I can, I can understand, you
Yeah.
know. It's and it was a fair result. Like I didn't deserve to come first. It was close, but you know, Adam just pipped me by that much. I think because of the midsection and stuff,
Mm.
and things like that is okay. It's like, yeah, you sort of maybe lose a night over it where you don't sleep because it's like, okay, what could I have done better? What could I have done to win? And then you imagine being the British champion and stuff like that. But you
Yeah.
know what it did? It made me hungrier than ever to be the PCA British champion. And then last year I came back and I did it. I
Yeah.
became the British champ. So, you know, never give up. Giving up is an option.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a choice. If you give up, that's a choice you've made.
Mhm.
Whereas fail, I like to call it failure. It's not failing, but like coming second, you're not won, have you? It's so, you know,
Mhm.
it's that is a lesson, but giving up is a choice. So I always try and hammer that into my clients. If you give up, if you don't follow the plan, that's a choice you're making.
Mm. Yeah.
Simple as that.
Yeah, and also this is why you see people compete for, you know, maybe one season or and this is not everyone, right? But for sure, the real life brutality of the sport is often we're going to get these knocks and it might be that you need to do a growth phase for a
Mm.
year or 18 months and then do another prep depending on who it is, but this is just sort of an example, but that in itself could be 2 years, right? So do people really want to commit 2 years from stepping off stage if their feedback as an example is you need more muscle tissue, if you need longer in that period of time and then you go back into a prep? So have you got that day in day out adherence for 2 years? And this, like I say, is where people go, I don't know if this is for me, because it is a lot, isn't it, Tim?
It is. It definitely is. So, for example, I love competing. I'm addicted to it. Yeah, and I I love getting on stage. There's no better feeling than words. It's that adrenaline hit. It's so it's amazing. But after I came second at the PCA British Finals in 2021, after I came, what was it, fourth at the Arnold's 21 and fifth at the Amateur Olympia, I knew then that I needed more size. I knew it 100% because the boys I was going up against were just simply bigger, and that was all there is to it. They have more muscle tissue. So I then took 18 months off. I didn't compete at all in 2022 and came back in April last year, 2023. So that's 18 months out. And because I knew I needed that. It was tough not, prepping and getting on stage and stuff, but it's a necessity when you're bodybuilding because it's the name of it. It's bodybuilding. You have to take time to build. I think a lot of you see, for example, PCA first timers. You look at some of the guys and you go, you need 2 years more growth.
Yeah.
You absolutely need it. There's no way you're going to compete with the best, especially if you want to go to IFBB or whatever. You've got no hope unless you take that time out to grow. And I just think that's super important to try and nail it. If someone's young, that's the perfect opportunity. I wasn't young.
Oh no, me, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm 37 now. So when I took that time out, I was 34. What was that, 3 years ago? Yeah, I was 34 when I
Yeah.
took that time out. So I wasn't young by any means, but I knew I needed that time to grow. So it really is a necessity, and I think it's something that more people need to. It's nice having clients and stuff, but also you want those clients to do well. You want to push them to grow and get it in their head that they're going to be competing at a top level. And you've got the other side of that where people want to compete just to have the opportunity to compete, or do it for themselves, as just an achievement, and that's fair enough. You can do that. That's fine. But if you are looking to be really competitive and win shows, you need to take an absolutely massive growth phase. Because imagine you come back, you put on 5 to 10 kg of muscle tissue, you're going to be absolutely unstoppable. There's no way that the judges are going to look at you and be like, oh no, he hasn't improved.
Yeah.
There's just no way, because you've put on all that muscle tissue, and what is it, 12 to 18 months? It's nothing really in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
So yeah, if I could advise any of the athletes out there today, it's please just take that growth phase. Make sure you are taking time to grow.
Because it is so much more competitive when I think there's almost, I was talking about this on a pod the other day, there's like the PCA first timers. Now, when we first started years and years ago, there wasn't sort of first timers, it was just the shows. So you all turn up and it's almost like you don't know if someone's done it before or not. Whereas now you have PCA first timers, but obviously you can't have ever stepped on any stage if you do the PCA first timers. Whereas like two bros, you could have done multiple shows, but then you've only ever competed with two bros once. So there is almost like this bit of confusion around some of the things. But I think PCA wise, it's quite cool that you can no one's ever stepped on stage unless they're cheating, Tim, which does happen. We hear the stories, but
Oh yeah,
it's actually a level playing field. However, I've been to a few PCA first timers this year, and certain categories, I'm thinking, Jesus fucking Christ. I mean, they're like early 20s, and it's like, whoa, it's like this new age of fresh bodybuilders coming in. I'm like, this is wild.
it is. Some of them these days are scary.
Yeah.
Like, especially some of the bodybuilding juniors. They are huge, and it's just like, where have you come from? What have you been eating? That's insane. It's like, fair play to them because they've obviously got a very good genetic background and they do the hard work as well. So when you pair those two together, you've got an absolute beast in the making. Like you're pretty much unstoppable. Whereas I didn't step on stage till I was 30.
It does
Um,
feel weird, doesn't it? Like I'm
it does.
35 and I'm like, this is weird. I still feel like I'm like 25.
Yeah, I know, yeah. I still feel like I'm 21. Oh, I've just got a few wrinkles setting in now, so that's what
It's
I'm
like,
actually,
what
I'm
is
actually old.
the thing is as well though, I think bodybuilding does keep you quite young, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know, when I was and it's really weird. When you're actually like really, really young, I used to think, oh my God, when I get to like 40, whoa, I should be married, children, house, everything set. And now I'm like, 35, I'm not 40 yet, but it's like that doesn't scare me now. Whereas before it would be like you have to have everything in line by this age. But I think bodybuilding just keeps you weird and wonderful, and there's always something exciting coming up, isn't there?
Absolutely. I've felt younger the more the years have gone on. I've felt younger and younger and younger
Yeah.
because I'm achieving what I want to achieve. And that makes me feel younger than ever because I feel like I'm at the start of my life. It's just an incredible feeling. Back when I was in my 20s, I was going out getting on it every weekend, in a desk job, just not going anywhere. And then when I turned 29, I think it was, I became a PT. And that was the best decision I've ever made in my life. That's the first time I've really been happy in life. And I thought, I feel like I'm starting all over again. I feel like I'm 18. Like, yeah, it sort of took 10 years off me. And now I'm 37 and still competing
Mm.
and still, got that fire for it, still got that buzz. Whereas when I was 18 to 25, I never had that fire or buzz for anything. Yes, I trained, but I had no intention of competing. I didn't know about it. Um, so it was quite lucky that I did train when I was, I've trained from the age of 16.
Okay. Yeah.
I was a super skinny boy,
Whoa.
like twig arms, super skinny. You can probably tell by my joints. I've got like little joints. I'm a proper ectomorph. So yeah, I'm so lucky that I did train because by the time I turned 30 and I stepped on stage, I had that muscle already there that I built. And I won my first show, I stepped on, like you said before, PCA, first timers didn't exist in 2018,
Yeah.
6 years ago. So I stepped on stage with 11 other lads that had all competed before. And I beat them. Like I still to this day can't believe it. It's just unreal. And I had no intention of winning whatsoever. I didn't even know there was an overall. I had no idea. But back in that day, the overall was men's physique against bodybuilding.
Oh, okay. Yes. These days.
Yeah. I would have been against the Real Muscle Unit,
Mm.
Rob.
Mm.
Rob from oh God, I can't remember his surname. He's IFBB pro anyway. So I would have been against him in the overall, but I didn't know there was an overall, so I just went home early after my show. After
I'm
a work,
gonna get out my pizza.
I had 20 tubs of ice cream that night. Oh man, it was just it was funny, man, because I just didn't have any I did not have a clue what to expect, like because I didn't even consider winning or anything. So yeah, I mean that feeling was just mega, like unreal. I thought, oh, I can do this then. Sound, I'll carry on.
Yeah, it certainly does give you that, even though it took me a while to win a show. When you do win a show, you're like, maybe I can be good at this, right? And it's like, oh, this is sick. Now, I don't know. It's for us, we certainly like when we've then not won shows, it doesn't stop us. So there's that mindset of like, yes, we want to win, and I fucking love winning. Like, there's nothing beats winning when you're at the back of the stage, and it's like, fucking hell, I think it's me. I think it's me. And then you win. But also there needs to be, I think, that objectivity and being everything we've spoken about already, being open-minded to if it's not your day, as it were, have you still done the plan, like you say, have you still stuck to it? And it almost sounds a bit throwaway, but it's like, have you literally done everything in your power? And if you have, that's all you can do. Maybe you need more time in the sport, whatever route that is, and what can we do to move forward? But I think when it's post show as well, maybe like at the end of your season, maybe you've just done the one show or a couple of shows, it's maybe quite hard to be objective and be like, what can I honestly do better, rather than like, all of the talk around you should have won and stuff. What can you really deep down, what is it that's maybe your weakness, if you know what I mean? Because you're sort of full of emotions, aren't you, in the post show?
Yeah, absolutely. I always say in bodybuilding, you've got to be a good loser.
Yeah,
You
for
have to learn to lose because you could be against anyone.
yeah.
It's never anyone's given day.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to look, you have to look at the top level to even see that. So it's like if you can learn to lose, you know, graciously, humble, you can be a good bodybuilder because you can just focus on what you need to do going forward, and you're not going to get into that spiral and dark pit of, you know, depression, whatever, because you've lost. I think it all comes down to mental grit, really.
Mm-hmm.
It's how far how many times can you lose before you win?
Yeah, and if
Because
you win and then lose, or whatever it goes.
that's it. That's it. Because you never guarantee the result. This is the thing. It's not like football where you've got the best teams in the world. You can pretty much guarantee a win. As a top team versus a bottom team, whatever.
Mhm.
Bodybuilding is just not like that. It's just not. It's because you've got judges and it's subjective.
Yeah, and it's not quantifiable, is it? It's like, again, like powerlifting, say, it's like you lift X weight, right? Okay, you win.
That's it.
Whereas bodybuilding, it's like there is genetics, there is sporting background, there is things like, and again, this is where how can we get better? Even my own reflections in this longer off season, where I've taken longer away from stage. I know I could have trained better and more effectively and more intentionally. So this growth phase has been almost like this big focus on me going, can I get better? Can I get better? Yes, I can, and taking ownership for that. And it's different things like this. What can we do when we're honest with ourselves to get better? But I think I don't know, it can be quite hard, can't it, to sort of, I guess, take that ownership and then commit to the growth phase or whatever it is you need to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's just if you can take ownership of yourself and your own actions,
Yeah.
you're winning already because you are setting yourself up to then win in the future because you're going to work as hard as possible to do what it takes to be better. You know, I think it's one of those sports where it can be really. I mean, for me especially, it's leveled me up mentally more than anything else could have ever done. You
Yeah,
know,
sure.
because it's a very individual sport, isn't it? You're on your own at the end of the day. Yes, you can have coach. Yes, you can have friends that compete, whatever, that are pushing you, but it's all on you. It's a very individual sport. So if you turn around and say, right, I'm doing this for me, then you're already there because you're going to do everything you can in your power to be better, to get on that stage and win one day.
Mm.
Whereas if you half-ass it and you're not bothered about your training, about your food, about recovery, you're just not. There's no way that you're going to win, unless you're a genetic freak.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure. And there is elements of we're both open books about PED use, right? Like, of
yeah,
course, there's going to be people that say, oh, you just use PEDs and that's what, and we know, right? It's like, yes, again, if there's a genetic freak that takes PEDs, okay, probably they're going to bypass you and I. However, it's like, generally speaking, you've still got to do all of those things as well. And I feel like, when you look at reaching your potential, it's like actually that's almost like an open path, isn't it? Because as I touched on there, right, if your training becomes more intentional, that's already, you know, progression in itself. If potentially you go down the assisted route, maybe use different compounds, you're going to get training age through this time. Maybe you look at your posing a bit more. Okay, so is your gut health where it needs to be? Like, there's so many things. Is your sleep routine there? That actually, for, you know, if you're looking to do this for a long period of time, these things are exciting because it's like, how can I just get a little bit more? How can I get a bit better? And it's finding that, I think, particularly in a growth phase, you know, when you're maybe a bit like, I just want to get back on stage. How can
Mm.
we find motivation in that phase as well, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's really tough because I am the worst for that. I get itchy feet and I'm like, I need
Yeah.
to be on stage. I need to be prepping for a show. I'm the worst for it. It's because you just, like I said before, I'm addicted to it. So that feeling of getting on stage, you know. So when I got told, you know, right, I need to take 18 months out, it's like, oh shit, what am I gonna do?
Oh, shit.
Because your mind just goes to what is my goal? Like where do I go from here?
Mhm.
Because you haven't got that goal of getting on stage immediately. It's 18 months down the line, that's ages away.
Yeah.
So things you can do is do like a 3 month sort of block of training, you know. You know, you go on and off cycles with your peds and stuff like that, so you can do little things like that, like micromanage your, you know, months or whatever into and compartmentalize and just break it down into sections,
Yeah.
and then before you know it, you'll be back on stage,
Yeah. I
you know,
love that. Yeah. It,
rather than looking at 18 months down the line, which is frigging ages away. You go, right, in 3 months time, this is where I want to be.
yeah.
You know, I'm going to be a certain weight, I'm going to be, you know, lifting a certain amount,
Mm.
whatever, which all sort of contributes towards, you know, looking better for stage. So it's doing things like that. It's micromanaging yourself and just getting the little details sorted, like you say, you know, things like gut health and, you know, sorting your diet out and stuff like that, and making sure you're in the best possible position to grow. And it is really interesting, like you say, because you get to research all these things that you put your body in the best position to grow
Yeah.
and be healthy. You know, this is why I get my blood work done regularly, because I want to ensure that I'm healthy internally. And if anything's askew, I then research the hell out of everything to see, right, what can I add in to make me healthy again? You know, say my cholesterol's off, which it most likely will be because of ped use.
Yeah.
What can I add in to make that come back to the baseline, to normal? You
Mm.
know, and I've had those examples in the past when I've had my blood work back after competition. I've had everything askew, and I've added in things because I've researched the hell out of it. And just that is interesting, you know. You
Yeah.
feel like a little chemist, you almost. You feel like, but it's leveling up your knowledge of things. And especially when you're a coach or whatever, you can help your clients do that as well.
Mm.
So I now tell my clients about all these, you know, weird and wonderful supplements that benefit your body in different ways. They add it in, and lo and behold, they fix whatever, you know, they have wrong with them, whatever. So it's nice because they didn't know that, they didn't have that knowledge at all. They didn't know about that. So
Yeah.
you can then teach people,
Mhm.
and that's what it's about. I think bodybuilding is a hell of a lot about education.
Mhm.
You know, this is why people like JP, you know, people like that are so successful, because they educate.
Yeah.
They tell people what's what. And I think that's so important in bodybuilding, because you get countless amounts of people, athletes, slamming gear, and they don't have a clue what it's doing internally. They don't have a clue. They
Mhm.
just do what the coach says, whatever, and don't research what they're putting into their body, what side effects it could have, and how to fix it.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I think that's super important to be on that sort of education train almost,
Yeah.
and make sure you're researching everything. I find it really interesting. I know a lot of people probably don't,
Yeah.
but when
It's
you're
it's
when,
good.
yeah, that's it. When you're in the world of, you know, putting peds into your body, eating all this food, training as hard as humanly possible, you need to find a way to keep healthy because your body's only going to take that for so long. So I find it super interesting, sort of deep diving into all this and researching that,
Mm.
and it only sort of levels you up as a coach.
Yeah, for sure. Like it's super cool as well. I'm sure you're going to agree when you do get clients that, thankfully most of my clients are very much of the give me all the education. I want to soak it up. And I absolutely love it because also, like you said there, the combination of personal anecdote. I mean, between you and I, we've probably been through pretty much everything that could happen to a competitor, male or female. And then it's like when you get the clients that go, okay, you've been doing this for quite a while, like give me the education. And then when that client becomes more experienced in the sport, maybe you are assisted. It's like, well, actually, I've tried X compound and this is what I got. Right, let's have a look at this for you. And you start to go back and forth and you become this like little squad and it's like this exciting adventure. And every question I get asked, I'm like, unless I don't know the answer, and I will say, I can really deep dive, like you say. I love what you said there, deep dive, because I'm like, this is my time to just go in here and I'm going to send you a 10-minute voice note about one compound. But it is, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
like, it's very exciting because the bond between coach and client, it continues to solidify across all phases rather than this sort of thought process that you only need a coach in a prep.
that's it. It's the best time I had with the coach was in my off season in 2021 with Nick.
I love that.
It was the best time because I'd never experienced it in an off season before. I never had a coach for an off season. I grew in 6 months. I grew 5 kg in muscle tissue, which is crazy. That's a big
Very
amount,
nice.
you know. But because I hadn't done that before, I was, new growth was coming through because I was in a position where I was eating the high calories regularly every day. I was putting in peds where I wouldn't put in peds before. I was lifting heavier than ever, and I was recovering well as well. So yeah, it was just this perfect, scenario. But obviously, when you're competing for a show, sorry, prepping for a show, and you're cutting down, you're not going to grow that muscle tissue. You're not going to put on 5 kg of muscle tissue at all. So I I know exactly what you're saying because when you're cutting for a show, that's when you feel you need a coach because you need that accountability. But I find the most important time to have that is in your off season because you need to grow to get better, and you're going to do that best with the coach.
For sure, because also because we've spoken about, right, your peak, and we had some chats in Instagram about, like, it's, do I put these carbs in, how much? And so that type of mind trickery in the prep setting and the show day setting, for sure, it's like that second diet, it's like, just tell me what to do and I'll do it. I just this is too much. However, in an off season, and this is what I experience, with different clients and people that I speak to, it's either some people want to ramp up the food too quick or they're shy to ramp up the food. So you've got these two sort of, whereas when someone's, really assessing your physique, doing your training, looking at placement of PEDs, it's really fucking exciting as a coach and a client. And I really do feel like, I'm so glad you've said that about your own experience, because I feel like it can be missed. And sometimes that's also the coach isn't as interested as well, right? It's not always
Yeah,
just the client.
that's it. Yeah, I think it's important to have gone through experiences as a coach
Yeah.
because you know what the client's going through then, so you can sort of relate. Um, so, I mean, for example, I've got a guy on board at the moment. He's just come on, and he's been using PEDs a lot, and he's got so much room for growth. But because he hasn't been eating, he hasn't grown. So I'm like, right, number one priority, forget the PEDs. Let's get on TRT and get that food into you. Like, I'm going to force feed you basically. I'm going to
Eat the
make you into a foie
food.
gras. Just stuff a tube down your throat and feed you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just so important because obviously people, they focus so much on PEDs.
Yeah.
They think it's a magic pill, but it's really not. I can't tell you how much it's not. Like, if you're not eating the food, if you're not training hard, Peds are going to do nothing. It's like people think that you're just going to sit there on the sofa and do nothing and inject peds and you're going to grow,
Yeah.
which you will to a certain amount, but but nothing like, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
if you're putting in the hard work eating, if you're putting in the hard work training, you need to do those first. That is an absolute priority before you even think of peds.
Yeah.
If you've got your eating on point, if you've got your training on point, you've done that for 5 years straight. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right.
18-year-olds, I'm talking to you. Unless you
Yeah.
want to be Mr. Olympia, very young.
Let your Samson do that.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah, that's it. It's yeah, I think there's a real misconception these days of right, let's just jump on beds. And it's just like social media has made that possible now, because back in the day it just wasn't, back in God, I sound ancient.
Oh, era. I know.
Back in my
I
day.
I didn't even know about it when I started out for like
No,
years.
no, I didn't have a clue. From literally, I didn't know anything about peds until I was 29.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I didn't know I was competing against. For me, I didn't think that bikini athletes would use, because I thought of it as just like steroids. So I was like, well, there's no way like bikini girls would do that. And then I'm like, oh shit, they do.
Yeah, yeah, it's amazing. It's incredible to know that every single fitness influencer you see on Instagram, whatever, social media, I would say 95% of them are on peds, you know. And even these fake natties, they're the worst.
It just
Oh God.
blows my mind because I'm like, I just can't see what you gain from that because it just doesn't make any sense. Like, what is the point?
What's the point? I mean, okay, if your family's watching you, I
Yeah,
can understand that, because then you've got that stigma attached to you. You might be looked down on, and people be ashamed of you that you're taking peds. But that's where education again comes into it, because you just need to say your parents are, watching your social media or whatever, and you're talking about blasting gear or whatever, doing steroids. All you need to do is sit them down and educate them, because most likely they're going to have this old school mindset that steroids will kill you,
yeah.
and that's that, But it's really it's about education. It's about telling them, right, A, B, C, D. This is what happens. This is how I alleviate so and so, whatever. And putting their mind at ease. But saying you're a natty when you're not is, I don't. Yeah, like you say, I don't understand why they do that. I don't get it.
Well, because if it is like the parents' example, perhaps I know sometimes if people work for a certain company or something,
Sure.
perhaps, if it's outside of the bodybuilding world, but wouldn't you just not talk about it rather than say you're natty? It's like,
Yeah, you just wouldn't put anything. I just like that's it. Yeah, of course you would. You you just leave it blank.
yeah, it's really, really
Yeah,
wild. And with PEDs as well, I find that, like you say, with the personal anecdote side and what we can deep dive in on ourselves from a research standpoint, but also, utilizing compounds ourselves if we're then advising clients, like we're never telling someone, you have to do this or do this without knowing what their potential risk reward, etc., and having those conversations. But if we know certain things, like there's certain things that happen when you're on cycle that you wouldn't know about if you follow someone on Instagram and they say, oh, I'm going to have Anavar as a female example or whatever. You wouldn't know that X, Y, and Z can happen. Whereas both of us, having compounds and then working with clients, clients will come to you and say, this sort of stuff's happening. Like, is this normal? Or, should I expect this? Or you can sort of give the pre-education. It makes more sense to me as well.
that's it. Yeah. So it's just about like I've had examples in the past where I've heard of people that have put clients on pets when they've had heart conditions.
Yes.
It's like, what on earth? Why
Like
would you use
Glenn
this?
and stuff.
Yeah, it's absolutely bizarre. But luckily, those people, the bodybuilding world is big enough So
Yes.
they'll be speaking to someone else, and then that person will be like, "Why on earth are you using PEDs? You need to get off that right now if you've got a heart condition." So yeah, it's things like that. It's there's some very irresponsible people out there that will just shove PEDs to anyone.
Yeah.
Um, but when
It's
you're educated, when you're telling people, right, this does X, Y, Z,
mm,
this is going to have X, Y, Z side effects.
mhm, mhm,
That's so important because you're then giving them such an advantage,
mm,
and you're making it their decision then. So that's on them. If they want to use that still, that's their decision. But
mm, mm.
you've sort of took it off your own hands, and you've educated, you've done all you can do, to tell them exactly what happens when you will take XYZ.
Yeah, because I think that sometimes as well, we could maybe think we'd be all right with certain side effects, and then perhaps if they did happen, it's like, oh shit, I didn't actually think that would happen to me, and it's important to have that open and honest communication. I mean, with myself, for females, even talking about things like clit enlargement, like it doesn't need to be this like shit, we can't talk about that, or
Yeah,
how your sex life may be affected, things that may change in that dynamic. It's important for my clients to know that I'm here to talk about things and actually be open and honest about that type of stuff, because you're never going to be able to speak to an influencer on social media, or feel that full fulfillment of knowing what you're doing with Google. It's like these are big things, perhaps infertility,
yeah,
various things, and it's like there's so much that goes around him, and I just think, shit, like, is this not being a conversation at all with your coach? Like, yes, do the research yourself, but for me, like, I want to know that I can go to someone, right?
100%. That's it. You should have that relationship with your clients. 100%. You need to be open and honest and have that conversation with them. Like, so for example, if someone wants to take Deca,
Yeah.
I'll say you run the risk of getting Deca dick because it's
But
a
what's that?
yeah.
Like, right, we're now on the next level of
Here
client
we go. Yeah.
relationship.
So like for example, just to give everyone education, here we go. Deca will make you horny as fuck, but you won't be able. Some people you won't be able to get a full erection, and it's just. I
Weird.
mean, that in itself is just a mind fuck because what male wants to live with that, you know? So straight off the bat, I will warn them and I'll say this could happen, you know,
Mm.
and that's an important conversation to have.
Yeah, and
It's,
that transfers into their partner knowing as well, right? Like, I,
yeah,
I certainly noticed that probably more so when I'm on a cycle of Anavar, I'm so horny, and it's like, bloody hell, and then Primo a bit because it peps you up a bit, but more so Anavar, and it's like, Matt and I have a joke about it, and we're comfortable talking about it, but again, it's like, I don't know, I think people are a bit like, oh, I don't really want to talk about that bit, but
yeah,
it does, and like you say with, essentially with males, like Tren, when Matt did try that, like you can keep going and you don't come, right? So it's like a really weird feeling for the guy, but I knew that could happen. So it's
yeah,
like not so uncomfortable, but I think that you could find yourself in a bit of a weird situation in a relationship, couldn't you? If you're sort of not,
absolutely. If
yeah,
you if your partner isn't a bodybuilder and they're
yeah,
not in that world, they will wonder what the hell is going on because you've changed. Something has changed there. And if you're not open and honest with your partner about it, there's no way that you can have a successful relationship there whilst taking PEDs because they're going to notice the change. Things are going to arise, conversations are going to be had, it's going to cause problems. So, yeah, it's important that people know what's going to happen so they can talk to their partner. And it's just like also Tren in itself, the mental health problems you can have with Tren. I always say to guys, if you're an angry guy, if you're an angry person, it is gonna triple that. It's gonna make you want to kill someone. So please, please probably do not take Tren. You know,
yeah. There
yeah,
is, it's even like stims, isn't it? Like
yeah,
your Himbine. I mean, I know that it's not for everyone, but some people that have a bit of anxieties already, like if you're quite an anxious person, it can bring that up to being more anxious by adding the yohimbine in. However, I know clients and people that use yohimbine that it doesn't increase the anxieties and they actually feel fine on it. So again, it's that like if
Me
there's
included. Yeah.
yeah, if there's a past of something, then, as coaches, we should be able to sort of know enough about our clients to go, actually, okay, maybe we try low dose if it's something that we feel is appropriate. If there's
Mhm.
anything going on, please be honest and let me know. But yeah,
See,
it's
I've experimented on myself with Yimbine. So when I first took it, I took 10 mig the first time I took it, and I felt absolutely horrendous.
did
Oh
you?
my god, yeah, I had pretty much panic attacks all day. Couldn't sleep the whole night. Like I was just awful, cold sweats, shit.
Whoa,
It was horrible. Next time I did it,
right.
I took it out completely. Next time I did it, 5 mig, absolutely fine. Not a
Wild,
problem.
isn't it? Wild.
Yeah, it's mad. So you just got to look at dosages and stuff, and especially if you sort of experimented on yourself already, you can then give that advice to a client, whatever. Right, start on 5 mig, see how you tolerate it, and then put it up if you need to. So it's things like that. It's same with Clem. Any stimulant is going to make you more anxious. I'm absolutely fine on it myself,
I'm
but
okay on Glenn, yeah.
yeah, absolutely sound. But that's because I'm not an anxious person. So anyone that is anxious, has paranoia, whatever, it's just going to ramp that up. So people need to be aware of that.
Yeah. And it's also the effect on the adrenals, like all of these compounds, potentially it's not till after the prep, like you say, you get bloods or whatever, and you're like, right, okay, there's quite a lot I need to do here, and hopefully, if people listen to this podcast, they'll hear these conversations, and perhaps this sparks questions with the coach and doing their own research as well. But it's trying to, I guess, as well, make it so it's not the elephant in the room. So it's like if you are using PEDs, it's trying to maybe seek out more education yourself from reliable forms. Maybe you reach out to someone that you can talk to that maybe you trust as well, and not feel so alone. But I like how you say as well, hiding it, because I certainly feel if I was hiding it from Matt, I'd feel like I'm doing something wrong, and I'd feel like really negative, and I can't lie anyway, Tim. Like it's really difficult. Like even a white lie, I'm like I can't fucking do it. It's really difficult. But I can't imagine that, because it would make it a negative, and it's for your bodybuilding, isn't it, if it's informed?
That's it, 100%. It's like if you're lying about it, you know it's wrong.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're open and honest about it,
Mhm.
you don't have a problem with it, and therefore you can educate, you can talk about it, you can be open about it.
Mhm.
And it's never, with myself, it's never an issue. If anyone asks me if I do it, yes, I do. Like I straight up tell them, and it's not an issue I have. If they judge, that's on them. And all I'm there to do is just educate and just, you know, this is what happens. This is the side effects. This is what it does for you, etc. If you want to make it to a top level, you have to do it. There's no choice. You know, so it's like you say, you can't hide it from your partner, and if you do, it's because you know you're doing something wrong. And it's like it's one of those difficult things because it will eventually come out.
Be like in your mind, isn't it, all the time? Like I'm
Yeah,
I'm lying, not lying, like, but you know what I mean. It's like maybe feeling a bit deceitful and stuff.
yeah, and
Mm.
and you should never have that relationship with your partner. That's just not a good relationship in that case. You know,
Yeah, it honesty always in our camp, Tim. Now,
yeah, 100%.
I I normally ask, what would you tell yourself as a younger bodybuilder? But we've had that question before because you've been on before. But
Yeah,
now we're talking about PDs before we wrap up today, and I feel like we could actually probably do another episode, Tim, because we have
absolutely.
these good conversations.
Yeah.
What would you say for you personally? Has there been a certain compound that you have utilized that you felt has worked really well for you, and sort of I think we can sort of find that one compound in itself as a personal like emotional attachment, like I really felt that something happened here that was quite special for me as an individual. Have you got anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Master on all
Yeah.
day. Master on. A, it's a it's a feel good steroid. So you actually get this heightened sense of happiness off it,
Mhm.
and that's proven. And also, yes, it's not the most potent builder in the world,
Mhm.
but it's less side effect prone than a lot of other compounds. So it's one you can actually use alongside a TRT, a low dose alongside TRT and stuff like that, which I did over the summer since my last competition, and it worked really well. So I have a lot of love for Masteron. I've used it since the first day I competed. From
Oh,
my very first prep, I've used Masteron, and I think it's a nice compound because it's similar to Primo. It's not as expensive, but it's not as faked either. So obviously you can get a lot of fake Primo out there because it's the expensive compound, but Masteron seems to be that the little brother that just seems to be okay. It will work and it will sort of get you to where you want to be, and you can sustainably use it. So it's a nice feel good hormone. No good for your hair, mind. So obviously it binds to DHT. So yeah, if you like your hair,
you have to
don't
have
use.
growth hormone at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. I just thank God that my dad has a good head of hair and my mum. Like, thank you, parents.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. It's certainly there is, as we've sort of touched on, there's certain things that happen on certain compounds, and it's like, again, even that is like, is that reward for me worth this side effect potentially? Maybe it gets a little bit worse, or maybe it stays around the same, if it is hair coming out or whatever. It's like, is that in your version of your risk versus reward? I think sometimes the risk versus reward, people might almost confuse it or put it down to like it has to be something really drastic. Like for females, you're suddenly going to turn into a man. It's like, well, no, there's loads of other things that can happen. And like you say, even hair, like you maybe wouldn't even think about that with steroids.
No, absolutely not. A lot of females don't think about hair loss
Yeah.
when they're taking steroids,
Mm.
but especially if you're taking Primo or Masteron, it binds to your DHT, so it is going to cause hair loss. So females out there just need to be aware of that and just make sure, because as a female, the last thing you want to do is lose your hair.
Yeah, and it is something that does occur. And even I know people that are natural in a prep, like this. And then if you were then assisted, if you lose it anyway in a natural prep and then you add this compound in, again, it's like, you could end up with very severe hair loss.
Yeah, that's it. And I'm not saying that happens for everyone. It hasn't happened for me.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But it's, if you've got male pattern baldness
Mhm.
in your family as genetic thing, the chances are you're going to have that with Masteron and, DHT
Mhm.
binding steroids. So yeah, I love it though. I'm all about Masteron, big fan of it. So
Yeah.
that's my go-to compound. I love it.
I love growth hormone. The
Yeah.
reason why is because the first time I used it, I got the best night's sleep I'd had in about 10 years. So
Right.
I've got this like emotion. That's why I say emotional attachment. You sort of, I don't know, there's always one for a lot of people where it's like, I want this for the rest of my life.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's like, because I always walk around positive anyway. I'm a
Yeah.
positive
Good
person.
guy.
I don't, I don't focus on negatives. I don't have a lot of stress. And if I do, I sort of learn how to cope with it and stuff. And I have no idea if that's down to the Masteron or what, but I've read a lot upon it, and it is a feel-good hormone. It's a feel-good steroid. So it's I walk around on cloud nine. I'm just a very happy person. So
Yeah, you
yeah,
are. You are. Like,
yeah,
actually, if you meet Tim in person, like, if you see him at a show after listening to this, whatever, he actually is like this. Like, this is actually him. And this is something, again, we can maybe get misconceptions on social media and stuff. And this is why we've stayed friends, because when we're talking today or when we're in person, it's always the same vibe, isn't it? We're just like, we
yeah.
just see each other do well and everyone else.
That's it, 100%. Like I always say to people, because bodybuilding is such a individual sport, there should be no one that's against each other. You should always just be encouraging each other, because what's the point in not? It's if you're working hard for yourself and you're pouring into yourself, why not pour into others? It just goes hand in hand
Yeah,
for me. you know.
Yeah, it's such a vibe. Like, I think that maybe sometimes people might think we're like lunacy. We're making this up that life can be this, even when there is so much shit going on, Tim. Like, there
Mm,
is always there's always light somewhere, and I think for both of us that has very much been bodybuilding.
absolutely. Yeah.
You know, and then to be able to share that with our clients and the community is so fucking cool. And you're 3 weeks out, mate, till you're back
Woo!
on stage. It's so fucking cool. It's your first time doing FitX, but again, it's something different, isn't it? So
That's it. It's something different. I just wanted a warm up show, and I just thought this is the perfect opportunity. I looked at the bodybuilding calendar, and I was like, "What's available the week before?" And it was Fitec. So I thought, why not jump on? You know, like, what's the worst that could happen? I'll be fat and look shit.
and
That's
that's not gonna happen. You're bloody peeled.
not gonna happen, though. But yeah, it's like, imagine if I just go on and I'm just way out. Like, I look about 4 weeks out. But no, I'm gonna make sure that doesn't happen. So it's, yeah, I'm excited for it. This season, I'm super excited for. It's just, you know, I'm traveling with PCA, and it's just to be able to do that, just simply have the opportunity to do that as a pro is just wild. Like 5 years ago, I never would have thought that I'm in this position right now. It's just incredible. It's an amazing feeling. Very privileged.
Yeah.
Great.
We know we're privileged every day to have this sport and have found this and our choice, and it's super cool because, as I say, I think we need to book another episode because we just have so much to talk about. Now, if anyone listens and they're interested in coaching with you or want to run anything by you, like Tim's already said, he will answer questions because he is actually a very nice guy. So I will put your Instagram handle in the description, and I'm not gonna say good luck in your shows because you don't need luck because you've done the fucking work. I'm gonna say every time you step on that stage, mate, fucking rinse the shit out of it.
Hell yes. Oh man, I can't wait. I cannot wait. I'm so excited. Just to throw a few shapes out there.
I love it. I love it.
It'll be class.
What bodybuilding should be. But thank you so much, my friend. And of course, maybe we get you on after your season so you can sort of talk us through
Yeah, I can recap it all. Ah, amazing.
a
Yeah. Yeah,
Christmas
let's do
one.
that. Let's do that.
Christmas episode.
Christmas episode. I'll wear a Christmas hat. I've
Okay,
just got a
well,
Christmas hat.
we're doing it now because you've said it on the pod and everyone has heard it. But of course, thank you as always. And we will keep in touch over your season. And then we'll get you on at the end of the year, my G.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Sarah. You're the best.
Thank
All
you. See
right.
you later.
Nice one. See you later.
Bye.